Peace. This is World War Wrestling. And tonight we're talking about TNA. I believe the first TNA episode of the year on 1/18/2024. And I do not know how often I will use this phrase. I have honestly never really used it before. This was a barn burner. My camera's doing some weird glitchy thing. I don't know what's up with that, but if you see it in the playback, my apologies for that. This was a rousing night of entertainment. And some nights you wonder, and depending what show you're watching, between WWE shows, between AEW shows, between NWA, between TNA, I sometimes question like who are they writing for? Like who are they booking these matches for? WWE seems to have a long term vision of who they prefer and who they like to see over. And then there might be some fan interaction, but even times in which the fans have like heavily pushed somebody over, the company still does everything it can to say, no, the fans don't know what they're talking about. The fans don't know what they want. Because depending night to night, city to city, I guess there's going to be some different kind of interaction there. I don't really know. When I watch AEW, I feel like they're writing it for Tony Khan. So while WWE might be branding the show and booking the show for shareholders' sake, AEW is definitely booking it for Tony Khan and the Bucks. It is definitely geared around what Tony thinks is best because either Tony is not in a position where he can listen to the ratings yet, or he's neurotic and he just can't get out of his own way and out of his own head. When I watch NWA, in my extent Ring of Honor, I know for a fact that those shows are for the fans. Those shows are for fan interaction. Those shows are for people to feel involved. Those shows revolve around the crowd's favorites. And every time you watch NWA or watch Ring of Honor, it's always a good show. This episode of TNA was for the wrestlers. It was for the pro wrestlers. It was for the true pro wrestling fans. It was for the true fans of Impact Wrestling. From beginning to end, it was absolutely freaking phenomenal, especially the ending. Well, not like the literal ending, but the main event was incredible. So, first match of the night was a six-way match between Mike Bailey, Kushida, Jake Something, Vikingo, El Hijo del Vikingo, Trey Miguel, and Laredo Kid. And this was a really good match of styles. You have the grounded American style inside of Jake Something. You have a very high-flying type of style that isn't quite lucha libre, but a high-flying style in Trey Miguel, more of like a Japanese style of wrestling between Kushida and Trey Miguel. And I don't just say that because Kushida is Japanese. I say that because that's his style of wrestling. Very catch style. I would say this being Kushida reminds me more so of Mike Bailey in that Kushida is like a viable threat to people. He is not Akira Tozawa. He is not Shinsuke Nakamura. He has made sure that people put respect on his name. He is very intense and he is willing to fight anybody at all. Kushida is more of a grappler. He can do some flying stuff, but he is far more of a grappler, far more of a catch-as-catch-can wrestler than anybody else really in this match besides maybe Jake Something. Mike Bailey, Clash of Styles, Taekwondo, Muay Thai background, and he does a little bit of flying here and there, but not the way that Vikingo and Laredo Kid completely reinvent the laws of gravity. This was an amazing match. It got Jake Something to win. Spot fest, that's not a negative thing all the time. It's a good thing everyone get their matches in. And to open up the show, like especially with the following match, this got the crowd red hot. This got me super excited. This made me want to like stay in my chair and stay tuned. I had other things to do, but great match all in all. Next match, Tasha Steeles and Zaya Brookside. I wanted to get that right. I almost said Brightside, like Mr. Brightside. Singles contest. And it's rare, in my opinion, in any other company I don't really know other companies that do this, but Impact does an amazing job at developing talent. There's not a lot of talent on Impact roster that gets underutilized. There's not a lot of like talent on their roster that doesn't leave Impact Wrestling better than they came. Every single wrestler that comes into TNA leaves better than they came. And I think with Tasha Steeles, I don't even think she scratched the surface of how great she's going to be. But taking a match like this and building up a brand new talent, a debuting talent from, I think, the UK as well, and putting her over, having a very competitive match, like showing some of your best spots and some of your best work, and then giving up the win to the new talent. There aren't a lot of talent. There's not a lot of talent on the roster willing to put over a debuting talent. There's not a lot of talent on the roster willing not to just completely squash. If this was Athena, Athena would have squashed her. You know, Tasha Steeles is a former world champion. She's a former tag team champion, and at this point, you kind of say that she helped build the Impact Women's division, especially the Impact Tag division. You know, with her and Kiera Hogan, who went to AEW and ROH to be underutilized. You know, shining lights effect, I guess you would say. But you know, this wasn't really an impressive match, but it was a very good match. It's not like to follow what had just gone on would have been a very tough act. And given a lot of people's attitudes towards women's wrestling, I don't really know where you would have put this match other than second. You know, there's just not another place. You couldn't have opened with it because no one knows who Zaya Brookside is. But it was a good match. It was a very good match. Don't underrate that. Next match was a tag match with a lot of lore, a lot of like storyline going on there. Maybe I did not see Hard to Kill yet, but maybe at Hard to Kill, Kaz and EY were a tag team. Maybe right before the change to Impact to TNA Wrestling from Impact. I don't recall them being like an actual tag team in the past month or past weeks. There's been a lot of like review shows for TNA lately. There's been a lot of like every holiday special, they'll do reruns of old matches and things like that. I don't recall Kaz and EY being a tag team in this day and age. They were formerly Team Canada. Oh, they were actually. They were actually tag teaming together. But I'm just saying, not long enough. Okay, let me first get into this. It was Team Canada versus the Grizzled Young Vets, the Dyad from NXT. Um, they weren't going to the main roster in NXT on WWE. They were not being properly utilized in NXT creatively. Going to TNA was probably the best possible career move they would have made. Going to AEW would have killed them. Going to Ring of Honor would have felt like going back to NXT. They might as well stayed. TNA as a tag team, these guys are going to be completely unstoppable because they have so much to prove. And the beard is amazing. The beard is great. After the GYV won this match, very convincing, very solid victory, by the way. A little bit of fuckery in the way, a little bit of heel fuckery in the way, but it was a pretty clean win. Kaz turns against Eric Young. And that's what I mean by like it didn't really seem like there was enough build up to kind of justify him turning against EY. I would say individually within Kaz's personal storyline, SCU not working out, other tag teams not working out, him wanting. I think Kazarian really wants to be remembered like Alex Shelley is going to be remembered. Alex Shelley is going down as the best technical wrestler of all time, if not one of the best. But he also mentored and brought up a lot of talent as well. So did Kazarian. But I think Kazarian's always taken like a Christopher Daniels type of background role that Christopher Daniels accepted at some point in time. His championship career is over. He might still be working on it within storyline, just like Dustin Rhodes. He might have one run left in him. But with all this young talent, all these guys that are definite household or soon to be household names, I was going to say guys that you can build a house on, is what I wanted to say. Kazarian is, I think he is that guy. I think he could still be that guy, but he's always trying to be the nice guy. He's always trying to help his friends. He's always putting every people over. He's always working with his friends and things of that nature. But if you worked as much as Kazarian has worked, if you've been as many promotions as Kazarian has been in, and you have his type of temperament, I would imagine that you're going to have a lot of friends and be very popular, especially within the sport of wrestling and professional wrestling. It's kind of hard for him not to wrestle with his friends when he's freaking Kazarian, you know? But him taking a heel turn and turning against Eric Young in the sense being the babyface after being the heel for so long, I can see why this is very needed for both sides. I can see why this was like a pretty good move, but I've also could have saw like them as a tag team being extremely successful. Not if Eric Young is losing, and I think the way that Kazarian like remembers Eric Young, yeah, Eric Young has gotten a deeper voice, kind of not really. It's the same exact voice. Sounds like he's been smoking 50 cigarettes a day. He shaved his head. He's always going to be the joke, Eric Young, and he's working very hard not to be that guy. He's working hard to seem edgy and to seem like a badass. But Kazarian remembers when you were just the mascot for Team Canada. So there's going to be some issues there. There's probably going to be much more going on as time progresses. And honestly, story wise, seeing them as a will they, won't they, seeing them as enemies might be better writing than just seeing them work together and lose and put over younger talent. Next was a promo with Nick Nemeth, Dolph Ziggler, and I don't know, he gave like a very, I don't want to say corny, but like played out overdone. Like, I don't know. I don't really know what to expect from Nick Nemeth. I don't really know what to see. But then Steve Macklin comes out, calls him out on everything I kind of want to say, so I can't really say much without repeating Steve. But it just sounds like something we've all kind of heard before. Steve Macklin came out, challenged them, bitched them, honestly. Honestly, bitched them, made him seem like a little bitch, you know. And I don't really think that Nick Nemeth really did much to really overcome that. He hit him with the showstopper or zigzag or whatever. I don't know what he's gonna call it now. I thought it was the showstopper by commentary, but I don't remember. I don't know what he's gonna call it now. But the zigzag, and I don't know. I feel like Steve Macklin has been made a very credible threat in triple threat matches. He's been made a very credible threat where there's more than one guy. But as far as singles wrestling one on one is concerned, he hasn't really been put over. I believe he was champion for a little bit, but reluctantly so. And I think because Josh Alexander got injured. If Josh didn't get injured, I don't really know what the outcome of that match between him and Josh would have been. Because if I remember correctly, Josh beat him, you know. But maybe I don't. I'm not a huge fan of Dolph Ziggler at this point in time. I'm not a huge fan of Steve Macklin. I like Macklin because he's from like New Jersey, but he's from a pretty racist section of New Jersey, and he gives me like super like racial vibes. So I don't really know. I'll talk about his wife when it comes to that, and I finally get a chance to go over AEW, which I did watch, but like I'm really behind in my recording schedule right now. This week kind of just blew past me. Next matchup, a singles match between Jay Vidal and PCO. And it's kind of sucked. I won't lie to you. Like, this one kind of sucked. I'm usually super positive. I'm usually super babyface. I'm usually super optimistic. But I feel like Johnny Swinger coming out would have been a little bit better. I feel like Pete Wentz coming out would have been like, give the spot to somebody who kind of needed it. And I don't think PCO needed it. I don't think PCO beating up transgender or gay men is going to get him over. Jay Vidal has not won a single match, I think, in his entire career in AEW. If he has, then please correct me. I've never seen him on the brighter side of anything. If he's like mascotting for Giselle or managing for Giselle or her valet, then yeah, he'll cause an interruption, make her win. I think her and Savannah Evans is a much stronger unit, but I also like Savannah Evans a lot more with Tasha Steelz. And now that Tasha Steelz is back, I would like to kind of know how that dynamic is going to work out with Savannah Evans. Savannah Evans was not there to help Jay Vidal. Giselle Shaw was not there to help Jay Vidal. And as soon as PCO came out, he said, "No one in this backyard can beat me." I would have preferred someone that could have came out there, kind of matched wits with Jay Vidal for a bit, promoed back, and then a match broke out and started. But PCO came down. It was a total squash. Further burying Jay Vidal, which honestly, that's what really made this not work for me. Is that if Jay Vidal was put as a more like Dalton Castle comes across as, I think he's gay, but I'm not really entirely sure if he is or not. Dalton Castle comes across as gay to me. If that's an insult, that's an insult. I apologize for that. But he does. He seems flaming. He seems like a flaming gay person to me. He's also one of the most credible champions, one of the most credible competitors you could put against somebody. Dalton Castle coming out there and saying, "There's no one in the back there that can beat me. There's no one in the back that can beat me up." Someone that comes down there better be ready for a fight. Jay Vidal saying that just seemed really fake. It seemed really phony. He didn't seem like he believed in himself. And I just wish the opportunity to squash Jay Vidal went to someone that could use it. PCO didn't need it. PCO could have been featured nowhere else in this roster, honestly. He's not an X Division competitor. He could have interrupted in the main event, but that really wouldn't have been befitting. But I just don't see how this gets PCO inside of the title picture. I don't see how this puts a belt around PCO's waist. I don't really see the use for that at all. Next, the main event. Anything with Will Ospreay's match of the year, but this match was kind of just bullshit in a way. In which it's the rubber match, I believe. Will Ospreay already beat Josh Alexander once or twice. I believe it was just once, but he's beat Josh Alexander before. He had no real reason to take this match other than a run back. But it's just, I feel like it kind of ruined the gimmick. There was nothing really in between Will Ospreay beating Josh Alexander and last night, in which made Josh a more credible threat. I don't really recall what was going on with Josh to begin with, that he just lost the match to a better competitor. But it was just, this go around, nothing that Will Ospreay did worked. No move that Will Ospreay hit Josh with worked. And it just seemed kind of fake to me because Will Ospreay was pulling out all the stops. Will Ospreay probably had his best match and his best outgoing that I've seen him in AEW or TNA as of late. Hold on, I really need to fucking pull this. I feel like I'm like damn near swallowing my snot at this point in time. Sorry about that. You see how much better my voice sounds too? Jesus Christ. It was a great match. It was not a match of the year. This was not my best match for the night. It was a really good outgoing between the two guys, but it just seemed kind of bullshit that Will Ospreay hits you with a clean match. He hits you with everything in his roster, and it worked already. And it wasn't like Josh rolled out of the ring. It wasn't like Josh utilized. It wasn't like the psychology just was not really there for me. That I think any given night it could have gone either way. And I think it's more so like that. It's like you put Alex Shelley versus Josh Alexander. Any given night it can go either way. You put Alex Shelley versus Will Ospreay. Any given night it could have gone either way. And it was just one of those nights that it went to Josh Alexander. If they had a rubber match, I would be surprised who would win that. Maybe once Josh competes against Moose or something like that, you might see him re-up with the title and Will Ospreay might come around. But Will Ospreay is a worker now. He has a job now. It's not the same when they're courting Will Ospreay and they want Will Ospreay to sign the contract. Yeah, we'll give you the best match of your life if you just sign this piece of paper. But once you sign the piece of paper, you're kind of stuck with whatever the storyline is. You're stuck going with whatever their vision is. And there's still a lot of great things they can do with Will Ospreay, but at the end of the day, someone's got to lose, and it was Will Ospreay, and that's really just it. Plus, you know for a fact, Scott D'Amore has a major hard on for dudes. I mean, Giselle Shaw. I mean, Josh Alexander. He has a major hard on for Josh Alexander, and what did you really want? He came out there singing Josh's praises and all this type of shit. It took like 12 or 10. I eventually just cut it off because I got fucking bored with it. It was like 10, 15 minutes of fucking Scott D'Amore jerking Josh Alexander off, which made me just not like the match. Because if he didn't do that, because at first I'm thinking, like, damn, they're about to have like a fucking 40-minute match. Like, they're both going to be dead at the end. And they were. They were both sitting down, calmly and patiently listening to Scott D'Amore swoon over Josh Alexander and swoon over the return of TNA. But he probably could have done that to begin with if he wanted to swoon over the return of TNA. He didn't have to do that at the very end. I would have rather, and I know it's asking for a lot, but maybe it isn't because people have Iron Man matches. I know that's saved for special occasions, but I would like to see the end of this feud between Josh Alexander and Will Ospreay be some kind of best of three series, some kind of Iron Man match, something that's gonna, or last man stand, something more that is going to really show how talented both of them are. Not that this did not do that, it's just it didn't need Scott D'Amore coming out at the end and jerking off Josh Alexander. It just didn't really need that at all for me. So that's my perspective of that. That was TNA. Oh no, it was a great match. It was honestly incredible. It was a great night. It was a great night of professional wrestling. I watched every show this week. I believe I did see AEW as well. I don't remember anything from AEW. SmackDown comes on in about 10 minutes, so hopefully at the end of SmackDown, I don't know how I'm gonna pull that off because Rampage comes out immediately after. But hopefully, like 11 o'clock at night or so, I'll be able to record something for SmackDown, record something for Rampage. But I really have to catch up on everything that happened since last episode of AEW. I did not do last week's episode of SmackDown. I did not do Collision. I did not do Rampage. And I don't even remember really watching pro wrestling. It's kind of weird that sometimes when you set out to do a goal like this to build a pro wrestling challenge, you're going to have a lot of weird issues. Like right now, my camera's doing something that is never done in the entire history of me using it. And that's like it's bugging out, it's blinking every 5 seconds, it's cutting up the video. I don't know why it's doing that. I've watched pro wrestling literally every single day, every single week for the past years of my life. This was really the first weekend that I didn't really watch it, and it's after I began making this show. So there's always going to be some form of resistance where there's something that you really want to achieve and something you really want to get done. I guess you really just have to measure whether or not it's worthwhile to you to really push through, persevere, and achieve that goal, achieve that dream. And that's all for me. I have to get ready to watch SmackDown. I have to really blow my nose and give it a good clean out right now. I only got about 9 minutes until that starts up, and then hopefully tonight I can get you some SmackDown and some AEW content. And I'll be working the weekend on someone's sales and marketing plan because I got hired to do that. If you have anyone with a business that needs help with sales and marketing, small businesses specifically, then hit me up. If you're trying to get into advertising, definitely hit me up, and I'll help you out with that. If you like to read, you can check out my books at bit.ly/Daryl Omar Books. Buy a book, support me, and that's it. Peace. This has been World War Wrestling.